Morning, Miss Marzura. So our group today consists of Melanie, me, Priscilla, Yuri, Veronica, and Sue. Out of all the topics that you have given us to choose from, we have chosen the Grounding Enhanced model and the agenda setting theory. And within our group, we have divided ourselves into two. So me, Melanie, and Priscilla will be doing the Grounding Enhanced models, and Yuri, Veronica, and Sue will be doing the agenda setting theory. For Grounding Enhanced models, there are 4 different types, which is press agentry, two-way symmetric, two-way asymmetric, and public information.
So I would be explaining the press agentry. Okay, for the history, during the 19th century, press agents labored to create news to influence public opinion. A press agent does not conduct surveys or research, they just want to manipulate behavior. Accuracy and credibility are not priorities with this kind of model. So the purpose of press agentry is for propaganda. The nature of communication, it is a one-way communication, and complete truth is not essential. As for where it is practiced today, it is normally practiced in sports, theatre, and product promotion. Press agentry uses persuasion and manipulation to influence audiences to behave as the organization desires. Moving on, I will talk about the advantages and disadvantages. As for the advantages, press agents seek to change behaviors to favor or enhance the personalities and the organizations they work for. Secondly, it helps to repair lost image and it entertains. Moving on, the disadvantages. This model is a one-way communication and the interest of the public is not considered. It does not do surveys or research to ensure accuracy and credibility. Lastly, press agents sometimes lie and this is not ethical. As for the conclusion, press agentry is a one-way communication from the press agents to the public that uses persuasion and manipulation to influence behaviors of an audience. This method is usually employed by practitioners for one-way communication to sell products or services without any quantitative analysis of the results.
So one of the methods that are involved in the Grounding Enhanced model is public information. Now this method is a one-way communication method where the accuracy of the message is more vital and it does not consider the information about the audience to be essential. Early in the 20th century, there was an enlightenment in public relations practitioners to be more truthful and to send out more accurate messages. Now the purpose of the public information method is to disseminate information. The nature of communication is one way, in which the truth is very important. It's practiced today usually by government, organizations or non-profit associations and businesses. And usually they use press releases and other one-way communication techniques to distribute the information. There are many advantages to using this method. One of the advantages is that they thrive on truth and accuracy. And because it thrives on truth and accuracy, the public knows that what they are receiving, the information that they're receiving is accurate and that they can trust these organizations. And they can also deal with more ethical practices. And because the government uses this method, the public knows that they can trust the government. However, there are some disadvantages. One of the disadvantages is that they do not consider feedback from the audience to be essential in constructing messages. Therefore, the information is only one way in direction, and they do not also undertake in research. Lastly, they move away from half-truths and outright falsehoods, was the persecutor to increasing ethical practices. Although this model does not have any methods for quantitative analysis of the results, practitioners are slightly more inclined to gather feedback from their audiences.
I'm going to talk about the two-way asymmetric. The main purpose of this model is it serves as a scientific persuasion. It is a two-way communication that focuses on imbalance effects. A lot of competitive business and agencies practice this model. This model uses persuasion and manipulation to influence audience to behave as the organization desires. This model does not use research to find out how stakeholders feel about the organization. The advantage of this model is it is very cost effective.
It has the ability to predict public's behavioral patterns. This model, a strategy could be revived in any new information is found. And this model incorporates a lot of feedback from target audience and public. An organization is fully in control of its information strategy. The disadvantage of this model is, even though it is a two-way model, it is not mutually beneficial. The word persuasion sounds suspicious and unethical. Feedback is primarily not to serve the interests of the public. This model focus is to achieve a short-term attitudinal change. And besides that, the aim of the model is not to reform the organization's behavior. In conclusion, feedback is more important to practitioners, but the aim is not to improve organizational practices, but rather to influence attitudes of their audience. After World War I, there was an increase in consumer products which also dictated the need for marketing that was targeted specifically for a definite demographic audience. Although this model advocates two-way communication, practitioners are hardly thinking about balanced communication. The goal of this model is to get into the psychological mind of their audience so that the message can be tailored to get the most effective reaction. This is the method mostly used by advertisement companies and advertisers all around the world.
So now I'll be talking about the two-way symmetric. So the purpose of this is for mutual understanding. The nature of communication is a two-way communication that focuses on balanced effects. So as for where it is practiced today, it is normally practiced by regulated business agencies. The two-way symmetric uses communication to negotiate with the public, resolve conflict, and promote mutual understanding and respect between the organizations and its stakeholders. Moving on, the advantages of this model is it builds mutual trust between parties. The end results are negotiated and are often in the interest of both parties. Trust often leads to loyalty of the public to the organization. As for the disadvantages, it can be very expensive. Negotiations could delay implementation of strategy, and the end product might not reflect initial plan of organization. The two-way symmetric is probably the most ethical method of all models. The aim of this model is dialogue, not monologue. The feedback that the organization gathers is used to change organizational practices. Negotiation, resolution of conflict, mutual understanding, and mutual respect between the organization and its publics are the desired result of this model. This model is often employed by business or non-profit organizations that find themselves in a conflict situation. This model attempts to find a mutually advantageous solution to a problem.
I'll be talking about agenda setting theory. Agenda setting theory basically describes how powerful the media is due to the ability that they can influence the prominence or the salience of a particular news topic related to the public in any way, public agenda. And which means that agenda setting theory basically is the fact that if a news is covered more frequently and more prominently compared to the rest, then the audience will regard it as something that is more important in comparison to the other news topics.
Moving on to the pros and cons of the agenda setting theory. In public relations, the agenda setting theory recognizes that media has no way of telling an audience what to think. However, there is a strong relationship between what the media reports to be important and what the public will perceive to be important. The agenda setting theory can help shape and direct a discussion of how audiences view themselves to match the message of a certain campaign. This theory carries a huge advantage in matters related to PR, as using this theory can help guide an audience on what to think about. Additionally, public relations practitioners can orchestrate publicity for individuals, organizations, events, products and services through the agency of the media. Irresistible and professionally written press releases, statements, as well as product launch, photo opportunities are tools which would come in handy in achieving publicity objectives. This means that a relatively unknown person, organization, product and service can assume household name status through the activities of public relations people. This is a sort of public relations agenda affecting the media and by extension of the public agenda.
So in regards to what Sue has spoken about the advantages and disadvantages, so I'll start off with the example of advantages. So there are few advantages, but Dove has done a really good job in their promotion in agenda setting. So the interview on Good Morning America is an example of agenda setting because of Dove's ability to influence and control the press while delivering its message. The interview is also an example of public relationship because it is initiated by Dove. And it's their process of spreading information out to the public. So they categorize it in three components, which is public agenda setting, media agenda setting, and also policy agenda setting. So public agenda setting, in which most important public issues or problems are measured by public opinion and agenda. Whereas media agenda setting is the pattern in which news coverage, print, and broadcast news gets measured through the importance and depth of the story. So last but not least, the policy agenda setting. It is the thought in which we pay more attention to how the media or public might influence elite policy maker. So the interview falls under media agenda theory, which is also defined as the power to influence your target audience as to what to think about rather than what to think. So the media, Dove, has the power to convince the public in their advertising, which is something that stating that it is. The more times of corporation can have their message appear in front of their clientele in the form of either a press release, news article, or feature story on television. But it's more important to skyrocket the public eye. And also let's move on to the disadvantages. So like I said, the disadvantages, like Sue had said, is very meaningful. So the few examples that I have is the O.J. Simpson case and also the Clinton and Lewinsky scandal. So I don't want to go too detail on that, but in the marketplace there are a lot of messages sent by the media. The application of agenda setting theory in different contexts may result in different effects. So a group people can be found on similarities and differences when comparing framing and agenda setting. Framing and agenda setting have differences on its function in the process of news production. Like for example, O.J. Simpson's case and the Clinton scandals are both classical examples of agenda setting in action. During this important and historic event, the media was ever present. All reports include the placement of full-page color articles and top stories in this event, and clear that Americans should should give priorities to this event because they are an important issue. In these two cases, some people hold that O.J. Simpson was guilty, but some don't, because the media doesn't really tell or think or want the readers to think which way to go. Whereas similar case to Clinton, many people thought that Clinton should have impeached and should be removed from his post as the president. But some don't think he should. So basically, what this means is the media was not totally successful in informing the audience what to think on this issue, but most people did hold this issue were both significant for a period of
So
time.
in conclusion, what we can take away from agenda setting theory as a whole is the fact that not all news is real and not all news is based on reality, and when it reaches the audience, when the news reaches the audience, it is often gone through a filtering process and it's shaped in a particular way when it reaches the audience. So it's up to the audience to be active listeners and active audience.